Colleagues, let me start by sharing that these last several weeks have been heartbreaking. George Floyd and so many others did not need to die. There have been far too many instances of violence against Black Americans. To our Black colleagues, we stand with you. We know many in our Ivy Tech community are hurting, and we are committed to eliminating racial inequities. I also received some concerns about my prior message as relates to law enforcement. Please know my son-in-law is a police officer, and I have the utmost respect for the profession. That said, we know there are policies which need to be changed, training which needs to be added, and more work which needs to be done with law enforcement, but far beyond law enforcement, including our social, governmental, business, and educational structures. None of us are immune, and none of us have all of the answers. However, I can commit that Ivy Tech leadership, the Goal 8 teams, our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, and our campuses will continue to listen, make changes, and hold us accountable to become the equitable organization we need to be, the place where every employee can bring their authentic self to work, and where we can create the same equitable environment for our students so that they have every opportunity to succeed at Ivy Tech and live their own American dream. This includes work in our curriculum areas to ensure it is anti-racist and reflects the tenets of social justice. If you are hurting or want to know how you can be part of the solution, please join Denisha Posey, our Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, and many of us for our weekly diversity series. It is also hard to believe that we turned off the lights in our offices and classrooms to become a remote college 12 weeks ago. With Indiana completing the governor's Stage 3 and preparing for Stage 4 on June 14th, which includes opening of government offices and most retail establishments at 50%, our state is opening up. Further, Indiana has continued to see reduced positive rates, reduced hospitalizations, and reduced mortality from COVID-19. This is due to the adherence of Hoosiers to CDC and our state guidelines, shelter in place, social distancing, and wearing masks. While we are still averaging over 400 cases and 15 deaths per day, it is much reduced from the peak. In addition, testing is available throughout the state so that Hoosiers who have concerns can be tested. This week, Ivy Tech will once again offer more than 10 of our campuses to IUPUI researchers for baseline testing, where a statistically valid number of Hoosiers will be tested so that we can learn what the underlying level of this virus is in Indiana. This information helps inform us on how well we are doing in controlling and reducing the spread of the virus. So, our Hoosier State is opening up carefully, and so will Ivy Tech. As you read in my last communication, we will begin returning to campus on June 15th. This will be primarily leadership, public safety, facilities, custodial, and those preparing for our completion academies, which will begin on or after July 6th. If you are part of this group and have not yet discussed returning at least partially, please reach out to your supervisor. Ivy Tech community, I would like to share with all of you the guiding principles of how we will return. Guiding principle number 1. Your safety and that of our students is paramount. That is why we are taking a very measured approach. If we could not return with low risk to your safety, we would remain remote. In addition, some of our employees need to return to work, and many of our students need face-to-face and hands-on instruction to be successful and gain the credential they need for high-quality employment or transfer. That is why we will allow the completion academies in July and face-to-face and hands-on courses to begin in the fall. Guiding principle number 2. To ensure your safety, we will manage campus density with a focus towards students in those face-to-face and hands-on courses and those who support them directly. What does that mean? We know that in many communities, especially Indianapolis, if we all came back to work, we would actually increase the spread of the virus because of the density of people on campus, including the auxiliary personnel who come with us, students, parents, suppliers, and all those who interact with folks on campus. Instead, we want to ensure that we can be open in July for students who need completion academies, the ability for students to register on campus for fall, and as I shared before, face-to-face, lab, and hands-on courses in the fall for those who need them. Even by the end of fall semester, we will not have 100% of employees on our campuses at any one time. You might think of this as sort of 0 to 75% over the coming weeks and months. In fact, it is unlikely when a vaccine or cure is available that you will see us return to 100%. We have learned much through this virtual time, which may suggest that a significant number of Ivy Tech employees will remain virtual, or at least work remotely some of the time well after COVID-19 is behind us. How those numbers end up will depend fully on how we can best serve our students, many of whom have discovered they like virtual services and classes as well. Guiding principle number 3. While we could bring all staff and faculty back to cubicles and require masks worn and or implement lots of plexiglass-like barriers, our goal is to keep density down, and in office areas that may mean every other cubicle with only half of those employees in the office on any given day. It might also mean reassigning people to small conference rooms and touchdown spaces where social distancing can be maintained. We will make appropriate investments where social distancing cannot be maintained. Your local reconstitution teams are conducting safety walks on your campus now, rearranging office areas, classrooms, and common areas to provide the highest level of safety and social distancing. Guiding principle number 4 speaks to the survey many of you completed over the last 2 weeks. More than 2,700 responded. Well over half of you said you're ready to come back when Ivy Tech needs you, and over 60% said you had remained highly effective while working remotely. There are a significant number who are both effective working remotely and will have difficulty returning because of personal circumstances, including underlying health risks. Our goal is to bring those back whom we need to serve our students, from enrollment and advising to faculty and face-to-face classes. However, that does not mean every SSP, advisor, or faculty member will need to be on campus full-time each week. I can tell you I have a high level of confidence in each of you, as you have proven we can run this college remotely. Thus, let's bring back the people we need, the amount of time we need them on campus, while also continuing to serve students virtually with faculty and staff who work remotely. Often, that might entail being on campus 2 or 3 days a week and working remotely the other days. There will be time, likely in the spring, where we can bring everyone back safely. Even then, I believe we will have a new appreciation for remote work and the adjusting of our alternate work location guidelines. Finally, guiding principle number 5 is the specifics to classrooms and student serving areas. We don't want to place barriers between our students and employees. So, while we could put plexiglass barriers around every student desk and every advisor's desk, this would go against our student-centered core values. We will reduce desks in classrooms to ensure social distancing. We will help advisors who see students face-to-face have appropriate social distancing, possibly using classrooms. And we will make face shields available to any employee who wants to wear one. Recall that we gifted more than 10,000 face shields to frontline healthcare workers across the state. This is actually a more practical and personal way to ensure your safety if you have concerns about being exposed to the virus. These clear face shields may also be a practical solution for students, faculty, and staff who have hearing difficulty and need to be able to read lips. Also remember, if you have underlying health conditions, you should talk to your human resources department and discuss how we can accommodate your situation. That was a lot of talking to just say we are going to return in a measured way. A few of us will return next week, more will return July 6th, and more yet August 3rd. Not everyone will return to campus for the fall, and many will work remotely part of their week. Your chancellor and supervisors are working through how specifically this will look on your campus. When we return to campus, we will be wearing masks or face coverings when social distancing is not possible. The college has made a huge order and will provide every employee 2 washable, high-quality masks and every student one of the same high-quality washable masks. These will be required in areas where social distancing cannot be maintained, such as hallways, restrooms, elevators, and stairwells. Visitors will be given disposable masks to wear. There will be signage outside and inside our public entrances, on our website, and visual reminders throughout our buildings, particularly in those areas where social distancing is difficult to maintain. Because we will be wearing masks, all of us will be required to wear a name tag or similar identification so you will be recognizable by name and title. Most of us already do this, but for those who may have considered that optional before, it will now be required. Thank you in advance for taking this practice up a level. And what if a student, guest, or colleague won't adhere to wearing a mask in an area where it's required? We will follow the policies we have of other violations. For a student, we will remind them of the policy, offer a disposable mask if they left theirs at home, and if that is not acceptable to them, share how they might complete that task virtually and or to return when they are willing to present with a mask. For visitors and registering students, offer them a disposable mask. If they refuse, suggest they complete their service virtually or return when they have a mask. If they still refuse, let them know we cannot serve them and, in a last resort, ask security to escort them from the building, just as we would with anyone who refuses to comply with the college's safety policies. If a colleague is not wearing a mask, reestablish social distancing and look for alternative ways to interact if needed. Remember that you may not be able to tell if a student, faculty, staff, or visitor is unable to wear a mask because of a disability or other accommodation. Many of us will have a day when we will leave home without our mask. Let's help each other out. If this is a repeated concern, please take it to your supervisor just as you would with any other college safety policy. Remember, wearing a mask covering protects fellow employees and students on the chance that one of us is asymptomatic. It doesn't guarantee we won't be exposed, but when we all wear a mask, we take the likelihood of transmission down significantly. Wearing a mask helps protect others, and we are all in this together. The face covering policy is available on our website at ivytech.edu/COVID-19. Please review it. If you have questions, ask your supervisor, reconstitution, or public safety lead. We will discuss both the guiding principles and the face covering policy further on Friday's virtual town hall, so please bring your questions then. And let me close this by saying thank you again for your patience, flexibility, and support of the college as we work through how we will return to campus. Now, for some good news, many of you know Ivy Tech has been on a quest to become a predominantly 8-week course provider. And as of this spring, we are 60% 8-week courses, and most importantly, our students are excelling. This past fall, 8-week course students had a 6% higher pass rate, and this spring, 8-week course students had a 7.3% increased pass rate compared to their 16-week counterparts. The caveat to this spring is that a significant number have taken incompletes per our more lenient policy due to COVID-19. So these numbers will fluctuate some as these students complete. Once again, we saw lower withdrawal and FW rates. What does that mean? Students taking 8-week courses are passing more often, dropping out of their course less, and on the path to a faster completion of their credential as they can take more classes and fail or drop fewer. To the thousands of faculty, full-time and adjunct, who have now become more confident in their 8-week format, I want to thank you for being willing to transform your 16-week course to 8 weeks. I will note that I have challenged Dr. Corey Klossman-Ryan to develop a clear protocol for any course which does not show improvement. To date, we have a couple courses hovering at or just below zero. None have stayed negative multiple terms. However, if they do, we will have a process to examine why and then make a prudent decision to redesign or offer that class in the best format for students to learn. We're also launching a study of the longer-term impacts of 8-week courses on student learning and student success. This spring, we also experienced largely positive results from Ivy Online courses, with an overall drop in the difference in success rates between our traditional and online courses to an average of just 3% for those courses in Ivy Online. While one of the goals of Ivy Online is to completely reduce this gap, a goal we've not yet met, this is a significant positive gain from previous average gaps, which were actually more than double digits every semester. I offer my thanks to the many faculty and staff working to make Ivy Online successful for our students. Now, let me close by saying I look forward to getting back to discussing our strategic plan strategies rather than COVID-19. I suspect many of you feel the same. I find myself thinking just how much longer is this going to take? We know multiple vaccines are in phase 2 and the most promising in phase 3 trial. So it is possible a vaccine could be approved and, if all goes as all of us pray, could be available by the end of the year. I'm hoping you enjoyed the glorious weekend with your loved ones outside and or doing something fun. I painted my front door, took some long walks with my husband, did some yard work, and enjoyed some beautiful sunsets under the pergola. Looking forward to our virtual town hall on Friday at 1 o'clock, when I will have a full panel of Ivy Tech leaders to discuss reconstitution and beyond. So colleagues, thank you for all you do and have a wonderful week ahead.